And now it's time to move towards homes today. This is proudly presented here by Audrey Forshey, who's a smart realtor at Remax Realty. She's also a friendly and a clever advisor. Talk about friendliness. Today, Audrey brings in a people's person, a friendly gentleman by the name of Michael Brezovac to the set. Michael is a financial advisor. Today, these two professionals will talk to us about long-term care insurance. Let's join this dialogue.
Welcome, friends, back to Homes Today. My name is Audrey Forshey, and I'm a Remax agent in Montgomery County, Maryland. And today we have Michael Brezovac, who is a financial advisor licensed in the Washington metropolitan area. He was with us last week, and we talked about life insurance. And today we're going to take that a little bit further, and we're going to talk about long-term care insurance as probably a part of your financial portfolio that maybe you need to consider. So thank you for coming back and seeing us again today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us basically, what is long-term care insurance?
Okay, so long-term care insurance is insurance that will cover you if you can't perform 2 out of your 6 daily living activities.
Okay.
So that's the simple explanation.
Okay.
What that means is, let's say that as you get older, you have a fall,
Yes.
you break your hip, you can't get out of bed, you can't shower, you can't bathe yourself, you have trouble feed yourself,
Right.
and your doctor or the insurance company themselves determine that you cannot perform those activities on your own.
Okay.
That's when the insurance will kick in.
Okay.
Okay. There may be some elimination periods before the insurance starts to pay out, but that's in a nutshell, that's what long-term care insurance is.
Okay. So when would I look to start investigating long-term health insurance? Is there, do you start younger? Is it better? Is it something you just wait till you're older and you think, hey, I need long-term care insurance? How does that work? When do I start looking for that?
So there's not a specific exact age to do it at.
Okay.
The old theory was, you start right before you retire, and in your 50s you start looking for long-term care insurance. Keep in mind that when you buy long-term care insurance, you're paying premiums every single year for that insurance.
Okay.
And those premiums can increase.
Okay.
Some people say they get them in their 40s.
Okay.
Because they're healthier. You have to qualify for long-term care, so you go through an underwriting for long-term care.
Okay.
And there are some people who may have had back issues, had previous surgeries, who won't qualify for long-term care. Okay? They may have to re-qualify, they may be denied, and they may have to go back 3 or 4 years later and try to re-qualify for long-term care.
So if you're younger and you apply for it, does then that mean, I've heard in the past that your payment starts lower and you have a lower payment than if you start later and start paying for it? Does that make a difference if you start younger? Or is there let's say if I start, is there an end game to it? Is there a termination period to it? So if I start at 40 and it only goes for 30 years, am I finished at 70 and I won't get it, so I should wait later, so I go into an older, age bracket or something? Is there such a thing?
A lot of people try to game the system in a sense to say, okay, if I'm going to pay premiums now, why don't I just wait and get long-term care when I get older and start my premiums then?
Okay.
Well, the most important thing to remember is that you may not qualify for long-term care because you may have some medical history that disqualifies you from getting long-term care.
Okay.
The other factor that goes into the pricing of long-term care is, besides your age, it's how much money is in the pool for the long-term care. Okay, how many years is that benefit going to be? How much is that benefit going to be? Is it going to be daily or monthly? And then, is there going to be a compounding factor? So what that means is, let's say that you buy a 4-year long-term care policy that pays out $6,000 a month.
Okay.
That's in today's dollars.
Okay.
So buying a 4-year policy will pay $6,000 a month.
Okay.
For 4 years.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that $6,000, that you have, that's not going to buy you a lot in 30 years from now because of inflation.
Okay.
So you may want to add a compounding feature to it, and that compounding feature will cost you some money. And so
Okay.
that will push your price of your premium up.
Okay.
The other factor that would push your premium up is when you go on claim, you have a waiting period. Okay? So what we talked about is they're not able to perform 2 out of your 6 daily living activities. Once you go on claim, okay, the insurance company will generally have a cheaper policy the longer you wait to take money from them.
Okay.
So if you wait and have a 180-day claim, it's going to be cheaper than having a 90-day waiting period.
Okay.
Okay? And so there's a bunch of different factors that you can mold to try to get the insurance policy that fits best for your cash flow and for your needs.
Okay, so if I decide that I need long-term care health insurance, and I look at it, I buy it, and do I buy it for, like I said, 30 years, or does it ever expire, or do I just pay for it as long as I can pay for it?
So you pay for it as long as you can pay for it.
Okay.
Keep in mind, in the context of long-term care today,
Yes.
it's relatively new.
Okay.
Unlike life insurance, where we have well over 100 years of history and pricing and actuary tables.
Right.
Long-term care, what the insurance companies are discovering is that the long-term care policies, people aren't giving them up once they have them.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no lapse rate built into the policy, unlike life insurance. And so it's very hard for the insurance companies to determine, well, this policy will lapse because this person will no longer need it, and they'll just stop paying their premium. They lose all of their premiums that they paid in,
Right.
unless they have a rider on that policy that they can get back some of those premiums.
Okay.
But keep in mind, each rider on the policy will push the price of the policy up.
Okay. All right.
So what happens is, what we're finding, and you hear in the news a lot, is the cost of long-term care and those premiums rising very
Right.
rapidly.
Right.
And that's because insurance carriers are exiting the business.
Right.
There's fewer insurance carriers.
Okay.
And they're still trying to get their the tables together so they can figure out how to best price these policies.
Okay, so roughly, I talk to people, and their parents may be in a assisted living or something of that nature, and it's easy for it to be $10,000 a month for a person, and they always tell me, they say, Audrey, that's before they use a tissue, and so $10,000 a month. I mean, we really need to plan for this. If I'm going to get a policy, do I have to go through a health exam and all that
Yes.
sort of stuff? And then is that how you determine the price of the policy? Is that how that works?
Right, so you're going to get rated on that policy. And so
Okay.
you're going to be standard, or you be substandard, or you're going to be preferred, okay? And each insurance carrier has their own definitions.
Right.
Okay, but that's only one factor.
Right.
Okay? The other factor, and probably the more expensive factor, is how much are you buying of insurance? The more insurance you buy,
okay.
the more the premium's going to be.
Okay.
And how many years are you going to have that?
Okay.
So as I talked about in the past with life insurance,
Right.
okay, long-term care is its own insurance contract with the insurance companies.
Okay.
And so what happens is, as you're paying into that policy, that policy, once you get it, okay, they can't deny you, okay, as long as you pay your premiums. But
Okay.
those premiums can go up.
Okay.
Now, each insurance company, if they want to raise the premiums, has to go through the state that the policy was issued in.
Okay.
And the state can determine how much they can increase their policy. So there's a process where the insurance company has to prove to the state that they need to raise the premiums so they can still remain and keep these policies intact.
Okay. What about, are there ways, if I'm shopping for long-term health insurance or long-term
Long care,
care, is there a way that you could suggest that maybe I could save some money? Like, in certain insurances, if you have a higher deductible or something of that nature,
Very
you
good.
can save some money. Is there a way to save some money on that?
Absolutely, that's a great question.
Okay.
So, and again, the best way, because you get into some very complicated, when you have all these variables, it's very hard to say, is there one size that fits all? And there's
Right.
not. So you should talk to your insurance professional or
Right.
your financial advisor and run through the different scenarios and
Okay.
see what you can afford.
Okay.
You don't have to necessarily cover yourself for all the long-term care costs. You may
Okay.
just want to offset some of those costs.
Okay.
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 Statistically speaking, if you go into a nursing home, you're probably not going to be there for 8 years. Okay. But at the same time, what we're finding with these newer policies is people don't want to go into a nursing home. They want to have the care at their house, where
Right.
they're comfortable in.
Right.
So some policies will allow that,
Okay.
Other policies will allow it, but discount the benefit. So if you have
Because you're in your home.
Because you're in your home.
Okay.
Then there's other policies that will pay your spouse to take care of you. Okay. So that's non-qualified worker, or they want qualified care, somebody who has some type of designation or some type of training, and they will only pay that type of person to come in.
Okay.
So each policy is different. And that's why there's so many different flavors out there that you really need to talk with your professional and figure out what's best for you.
Okay. And so when you're planning for these things and you have potentially even, you're talking to your children about your long-term care and that kind of thing, and when you finally get to a point, you said a few minutes ago that a 4-year policy and not living 8 years in a nursing home is statistically, you don't stay there very long, I guess. So for maybe 4 years is as long as you get there, right? So when you're talking to your kids about your long-term care and all that sort of stuff, and when you kick the policy in, how does it work? Do they pay, let's say my parents have their policy, is it going to be paid to me or to the medical facility directly? How does that all work?
So it all depends on how that contract was written up and what you paid for. Okay. So if the policy will only pay for a living facility, which those will be cheaper than home care, right?
They will be.
They will. As far as the cost goes, it doesn't matter to the insurance company if they're paying you out $6,000 to you, or $6,000 to a nursing home. Okay. They're only paying out whatever your policy limitations are per month or daily.
Okay.
What's important though is that if there's home care, generally that starts first before you move to a nursing home.
Yes, I would think
so
that's typical.
there's generally this transition. So when the transition is that you can't perform 2 out of your 6 daily living activities, but you want home care, the insurance companies wants to price that into the policy.
Okay.
And then the question becomes, who's going to perform that care? Is it going to be a loved one who's unskilled? Will the policy pay for that? So you have to check to see.
Oh, because maybe they won't pay if one of your children takes care of you, because that happens a lot.
That happens a lot, or your spouse.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of policies out there that will give you a discount if you and your spouse both buy the policy at the same time. Because what they find is that when one spouse needs care, the other spouse is generally taking care of them and will take care of them as long as they can. So they give them the discount to this, because they realize that they're not going to go on claim as quick as if they didn't have that spouse there taking care of them.
That makes sense, and and that's usually what happens, and it's usually pretty hard on the spouse that's taking care of the loved one.
Absolutely.
So if I go and I sign up for my long-term care insurance, and I sign my contract and everything, is it only for if I'm older, or could it be because it's a disability? Like, what if I had a car accident and I'm young? Does it work for that too?
That's a great example. Absolutely.
It does?
So again, some insurance companies will limit how early you can go and get the policy. Okay. So some will say, we will only take applicants after the age of 40. Okay. Others will do it no matter how old or how young they are. But it's not necessarily your age that's going to determine if you go on claim. It's your 2 out of 6 living activities. So let's take an example. If I have long-term care, I'm driving my motorcycle, and all of a sudden I break my hip. I get to put the motorcycle down, or somebody hits me, and I'm in a serious accident. Now, after 6 months, and if my policy has a 6-month waiting period, and I still need care, I could essentially start going into my insurance policy as long as I meet the requirements of that.
And so then you use it early, and then you're healthy and you go back to work and you can take care of yourself and everything again. Then can you keep paying into it for later on, or if you used it, then is it over?
No, so you have it, generally you're going to have a pool of money, and that's going to be the pool that you have access to. You can't have access to it all at once. hence that you're going to have either a daily or monthly benefit
Okay.
multiplied by the years of what you're looking for, and that equals your pool of money.
Okay.
So if you dipped into your pool of money, and let's just say your total pool was $400,000, and you used $100,000 of it, but now you're better, you know, in the example that I gave with the motorcycle, then I have $300,000 left.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
But I still have to pay my premiums.
Yes, even when you're not, when you're...
Well, there is, so when you go on claim, most policies, and there's no additional cost, but check with your insurance carrier, but most policies will suspend the premium, so you do not have to pay the premiums once you're on claim.
Okay, wonderful. So very helpful information as we all kind of age and need a little bit of help. Again, talk to your financial advisor, your insurance person, and look into some long-term care. We thank you for joining us. Happy Labor Day. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.